Om Sarvamangalmangalye Shive Sarvarthasadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Before proceeding with the topic, I want to just give one introduction regarding the study of any literature. Giving a brief description, then I will proceed with today's topic. Generally, if we want to study the lives or the history of a nation, we take recourse to the books or literary works written or recorded during those periods. This is studying history or lives in general. But if we come to the study of the life of a spiritual personality, apart from the material facts recorded on a material plane, one more plane exists, which is the spiritual plane, for which, apart from few adhikarika purushas means competent persons, many are incompetent to comprehend the spiritual facts of spiritual life. Therefore, we should be very, very careful while reading the personalities, especially spiritual personalities, and take recourse to the source books. Fortunately, for our divine trio, we have a wonderful recorded facts as recorded by Maharashtra Mahashaya and even direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna himself. Why I say this? Because it should not become a Purana. Purana, no doubt, it is good to hear, but generally, even our Swamiji will be jokingly telling, there is no value for zeros. 50,000 years and 50 years quite similar. Here, we see, when we come to the lecture in the Gnana Yoga given by Swamiji, he says, the only reality is the Atman, or you may call it as a Brahman, or God, or pure consciousness. Then he raises an objection. Then if Brahman or God or pure consciousness is the reality, then why are we perceiving this word as material word? Suppose I may see this word as a matter which is a miscomprehension of my intellect, and suppose you should be able to see it. But all of us are seeing this word as word. Why is it so that if the absolute reality or the Atman is the only reality? Swamiji raises this objection, and then he himself says, it shows that we are all living on the same plane of consciousness, which is the material plane of consciousness. If we perceive the pure consciousness according to the five senses, we see the material world. If we perceive the pure consciousness with the mind, we see it as thoughts or ideas. If we perceive this pure consciousness through the consciousness, you see this word as spirit. That was why yesterday I read on Thakur, where he saw it as the doors, the puja vessels, everything was Chinmaya, pure consciousness. He started throwing flowers in all directions. That's why I told yesterday, it's a wonderful statement which has got a wonderful meaning. So that's why such a wonderful life we have got today, that Thakur Swamiji, as we go on studying, rather than doing Adhyayana, Manana, Shravana, Nididhyasana, such a wonderful light, and it leads to pure joy. And one more fact I want to just tell you, this is just the introduction. And one more fact, this whole cosmos or the manifested word is based on the concept of yajna. This is according to the Bhagavad Gita, that is actually in the 3rd chapter. Krishna wonderfully explains all those his ideas. Based on this concept of yajna only, Jive Seva Swamiji has introduced in this Ramakrishna mission. And in what way are we here doing yajna? If this whole cosmos is nothing but yajna, in what way we are sitting here doing yajna? Yajna is nothing but sacrifice. Swamiji says, if you remember, no great work can be done without a sacrifice. So then what is the sacrifice that is involved here? I am sacrificing what I have read, what little I have understood through my little intellect to you, and you are hearing what I am speaking, and your karana, which is called the Shravanendriya, which is the Yajna Kunda, and the words are the Ahuti, and the Ahuti that is given is by the Brahman to the Brahman, and receiver is also Brahman. So this is the concept. I am not just giving something which is a lecture or a speech. I don't consider this as a lecture or a speech or something like that. This is purely a yajna. You and I are the participants in that yajna as Brahman. With this little introduction, I was just thinking on Thakur and thought the subject, approaching Sri Ramakrishna. So in what way I mean approaching means comprehending Sri Ramakrishna, understanding Sri Ramakrishna. To what extent I will be able to do justice in this scheduled time, I don't know. But I will place before you few facts and incidences as recorded in Gospel and Lives of Direct Disciples, and leave the comprehension and understanding to the individual perceptions of yours. If you see the beginning of Sri Ramakrishna's life as a sadhaka, Gadadhara as a sadhaka, he practices so many bhavas, dasya, sakhya, madhura. Then he practices Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, spiritual practices, and attains Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He is a Shakta, that means the worshipper of Shakti or Divine Mother. At the same time, he was a Vaishnava in the purest sense. At the same time, he was a householder and also a sannyasi. He had disciples of both monastics and householders. And he even performed Tantra Sadhana, Islam, Christianity, so much compact in that one personality. Is it really possible? In what way we should be able to understand this personality, so to speak? And as a guru also, he guided so many spiritual aspirants towards perfection. That's why if you see the Khandana Bhavavandana composed by Swamiji, he says, Bhaswara, Bhavasagara, Chira Unmada, Prema Pathar. In that one word which is very wonderful, Bhava Sagara, ocean of resplendent emotions, is not just one or two emotions. He is the ocean of resplendent emotion, ocean of emotions, not just one or two. Then it is so much big. He is more broader than the sky and deeper than the ocean. How to comprehend it? I will just raise objections and leave the perceptions to you. In one time, Girish Chandra Ghosh comes and asks Swamiji that being the foremost disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, why don't you write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna? Then Swamiji says, do you advise me to fashion a monkey while going to prepare the idol of Shiva? I am not competent enough to write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. This is the statement made by Swamiji himself. In another instance, actually we see it is only left to Swami Sharadhanji Maharaj to write the Leela Prasanga. The wonderful thing in that is, without experiencing the spiritual truths, he has not written anything which is out of his comprehension or spiritual experiences. Everything he himself experienced, then he started writing those experiences through that Leela Prasanga. Actually, while performing the Tantra Sadhana by Sri Ramakrishna later days, he did not allow any of his disciples to perform the Tantra Sadhana, including Narendranath. There are some reasons, Thakur says, that's not required now. Then, while writing this Leela Prasanga, Sharadhanji Maharaj, now without doing it, he will not write it. That's why he went to Holy Mother, took her blessings, at the same permission to perform Tantra Sadhana. He practiced it, experienced the spiritual truths, then wrote Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga. It is an in-depth study. That's why it was left only to him to write. But if we come to Swamiji, we find, apart from those two songs, Khandana Bhavabandhana, Omri Mritam, he has not dared to write or say anything with respect to Sri Ramakrishna. He has given the lecture My Master in 1886 in New York. One is New York, another is in England, both compiled in one volume in the Complete Trust of Swami Vivekananda, volume 4, with the heading My Master. Even while speaking, actually in New York, he was speaking with respect on renunciation of Sri Ramakrishna, comparing the renunciation of Sri Ramakrishna compared with the dollar worship of the West. He totally criticized the dollar worship of the West. But the very next day, he was most dissatisfied, and at the same time, he was with remorse while reading the newspaper that he criticized the West. Then Swamiji says, I just read what Swamiji told. My master could not see the evil side of a man. He had nothing but love, even for his worst vilifiers. It is nothing short of sacrilege on my part to abuse others and wound their feelings while speaking about my master. Really, I have not understood Sri Ramakrishna, and I am totally unfit to speak about him. This is the statement made by Swamiji himself. What to speak of us? Only with the bhava mukam karoti bhavachalam we have to proceed. That's all. In another instance, a disciple, to know about Sri Ramakrishna, questions Swamiji. That conversation also I will just read from the book, wherein he wants to know what Swamiji means with respect to Thakur. So, disciple questions, do you believe Ramakrishna to be an avatara? These are all the objections I am raising with the topic understanding Ramakrishna. This is, technically speaking, it is called Purva Paksha. Swamiji says, tell me first, what do you mean by an avatar? Disciple, I mean one like Ramachandra, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus and others. Swamiji says, I know, not the word, I know Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna to be even greater than those you have just named. What to speak of believing, which is petty thing, I know. Because he questions, do you believe Sri Ramakrishna as an avatara? Swamiji says, I know Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. He does not say, I believe. I know. That is the difference between believing and knowing. Then, disciple says, why do you not preach Ramakrishna as an avatar? You have indeed power, eloquence and everything else needed to do it. Swamiji says, truly, I tell you, I have understood him very little. He appears to me to have been so great that whenever I have to speak anything of him, I am afraid lest I ignore or explain away the truth, lest my little power does not suffice, lest in trying to extol him, I present his picture by painting him according to my lights and belittle him thereby. This is Swamiji's statement to the disciple. This is with respect to avatarahood of Sri Ramakrishna. Not only with the spiritual dimension of that personality, even with respect to the physical dimension of that personality, it is not so easy to comprehend. When Swami Sharadanji Maharaj approached Swami Brahmananda for the installation of the idol in that Belur temple, the temple was ready, the idol was supposed to be installed, and Sharadanji Maharaj wanted Swami Brahmananda to see the idol whether it is according to the physical appearance of Sri Ramakrishna. Because he was the Manasaputra, so he wanted Manasaputra to see his father and give permission. Hearing this, Swami Brahmanji says, see, on which form of Sri Ramakrishna should I base my opinion? On which form of Sri Ramakrishna should I base my opinion? Sometimes I used to see him as very vast and huge. If you remember the story of that Kamarpukur, when the child was sleeping, the mother saw the full figure sleeping with whole cot and all those, etc. So here, Swami Brahmananda himself has seen Sri Ramakrishna as the physical boundaries exceeding the limitations of the visual boundaries. At the same time, sometimes I have seen him full of light. Sometimes I have seen Sri Ramakrishna with beheaved hairs. Sometimes I have seen Sri Ramakrishna walking with the gait of a lion. With all these things, I have seen much more which cannot be explained, and you suggest me to see the idol based on which form? Though saying this, he gives permission for the idol installation in Belur. You see, on the pedestal, which is in the form of a damaru, which is the symbol of renunciation, on the renunciation symbol, Thakur has been installed in Belur. So, even to demarcate with a physical line is so difficult. He was polymorphic with huge many different forms. What to speak of comprehending him as a spiritual personality? So, even having such an objection, we have to start somewhere. Where to start then? I just remember the lecture of that my master given by Swamiji. The first and the foremost striking thing in that personality is, Swamiji says, just I will read that lecture, few lines. For the first time, I found a man who dared to say that he saw God. That religion was a reality. We should compare 2012, July 22nd with 1897 and also the 3000 or 5000 years of that Indian culture and understand these sentences. That religion was a reality. Religion is not talk or doctrines or theories, nor is it sectarianism. It is the relation between the soul and God. Religion does not consist in erecting temples or building churches or attending public worship. That's why I told you the concept of yajna. It is not to be found in books or in words or in lectures or in organizations. Religion consists in realization. This is the most striking thing, or the foremost to enter the realm of Sri Ramakrishna. Because of this, being religion as a realization, Swamiji says that my whole life has been changed by the touch of one of these divine men about whom I am going to speak you next Sunday. Narendranath, the skeptic, becomes such a wonderful spiritual giant because of that touch of that personality, which he showed that religion is realization. To realize what is the tool, the most striking thing that is involved in Sri Ramakrishna is that he was a human being. We have to first be able to perceive Sri Ramakrishna as a human being. These are all got in-depth study and you have to understand according to your perception. These are got a deeper meaning. I am just giving the tip of an iceberg. Please try to understand according to your perceptions. So, this Sri Ramakrishna was a human being at first. Why I say this point, I am raising this point because Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel, so many places, he makes a statement that God incarnates as man. This I am going to read from the two incidences from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, then I will try to explain other things. Sri Ramakrishna says to Yam, in every age, he, meaning God, he descends to earth in human form as an incarnation to teach people love and devotion. There is the instance of Chaitanya. One can taste devotion and love of God only through his incarnations. Infinite are the ways of God's play, but what I need is love and devotion. I want only the milk. The milk comes through the udder of the cow. The incarnation is the udder. If you see the photograph of Sri Ramakrishna, you see that he is holding his hands in the shape of the udder, meaning stating that he is the incarnation. Was Sri Ramakrishna, Yam makes a statement, was Sri Ramakrishna hinting that he was an incarnation of God? Did he suggest that those who saw him saw God? Did he thus speak about himself when speaking of Chaitanya? In another instance, Thakur makes a statement, this is most beautiful. According to one school, the gopis of Vrindavan, like Yashoda, had believed in the formless God in their previous births. But they did not derive any satisfaction from this belief. This is Sri Ramakrishna is saying. Formless attribute, that's why for Yam also he says, you are a Shakta, don't meditate on the Nirakara. That is why later on they enjoyed so much bliss in the company of Sri Krishna in the Vrindavan episode of his life. One day Krishna said to the gopis, come along, I shall show you the abode of the eternal. Let us go to the Jamuna for a bath. As they dived into the water of the river, they at once saw Goloka. Next, they saw the indivisible light. Thereupon, Yashoda explained, "Oh Krishna, we don't care for these things anymore. we would like to see you in your human form. I want to take you in my arms and feed you. So, the greatest manifestation of God is through His incarnations. So, the greatest manifestation of God is through His incarnations. The devotee should worship and serve an incarnation of God as long as he lives in a human body. These are all very wonderful statements or hints for spiritual practices. You see, why I am telling all these things, I'll just give one instance. When Narendranath in the earlier stages, when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, he depended much on his intellect. He was so much for the Advaitic experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi and experiencing that wonderful bliss, and never entertained or accepted the idea or the love between the Krishna and Radha, Krishna and gopis, and he used to call it as, if I say, use the word in Kannada, Ashlila. The relation between the gopis and Radha, he used to use that word. Sri Ramakrishna then told him, maybe the love between them was not pure. Okay, you just take the intensity of the love between them and then direct that towards God and you attain perfection. Then, if Narendranath does not experience that wonderful bliss, how is he going to lead the wonderful religious order in future, which is supposed to be started by Sri Ramakrishna? And being the leader, if he does not have that love, how can he understand or comprehend that wonderful Indian culture and present it to America and India at the same time and be a leader? So Sri Ramakrishna, one day, what he did, he just wrote with his finger on the bed of Narendranath, saying, O Srimati Radhe, Narendra ke daya karo. O Srimati Radhe, Narendra ke daya karo. After this writing of Sri Ramakrishna with his finger, there was such a wonderful transformation in Narendranath that he was involved or just submerged in that bliss of Radha, and he was in the mood of Radha or that wonderful bliss for 3 days. After coming out of that experience, Narendranath says to Vaikuntanath Sanyal, one of the household disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, he says, I saw such a wonderful light through this experience by the gaze of Sri Ramakrishna. Without this, my life would have become dry and dreary. He makes this statement to Vaikuntanath. That's why, with this connection, if you study the lectures from Colombo to Almora pertaining to the sages of India, Swamiji makes a statement, the gap or the bridge between the personal and the impersonal is being answered by the love of the gopis of Vrindavan. He makes a statement. And then he continues and says, Swamiji says, the Advaitic experience can be attained through bhakti. If you are able to study the Advaita Vedanta, technically taking Shankara Bhashya or any other Bhashya, Shankara Bhashya is the most basic thing, and understand this is the most faulty statement of Swamiji. But this statement is not based on logic, but this statement is based on the pure experience of Swamiji, because through that love of gopis, through that intensity, they are able to experience the oneness with Krishna, and they are able to see the consciousness of Krishna everywhere and nothing else, and they are attaining to that oneness which is an Advaitic experience, taking recourse to bhakti, which is full of bliss and love. This he got through the gaze of Sri Ramakrishna by saying, O Radhe, Narendra ke daya kuru. That's why even to Yam, Sri Ramakrishna says, you leave all this vichara and nirakaravaditva, because he was much influenced by Keshava and Brahma Samaj. He was against idol worship. He says, you take recourse to Kali. Then, if she wills, she will give the experience of both Sakara and Nirakara. Towards the end of his life, Master makes a statement, by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, I was able to experience both Sakara and Nirakara experiences. He makes this statement. That's why you see that wonderful love and devotion can be got through the incarnation from a human form. That is what I want to go into intent. I want to express these things. Though it is a fact that incarnation transcends to this earth, taking a human form, all are not able to comprehend the incarnations or to see God in human beings. That's why Sri Ramakrishna off and on used to say his devotees, please be coming to this place off and on. Please be coming on Tuesdays and Saturdays here. Try to understand yourself. And he also makes a statement, if you are sincere and pray that, O Lord, please show yourself, slowly you will be starting to know Sri Ramakrishna. In statement, he himself makes. Actually, when Sri Ramakrishna was living in Dakshineshwar, other priests considered him only as one of the priests of Kali temple and a madcap, nothing else. Even in Kamarpukur, when Master Mahashaya went to Kamarpukur, one of the Pandit called Master Mahashaya and asked, what's your profession? Then Master Mahashaya says, I am a headmaster in Martin School. Then he says, definitely you are a fool. Being such a literate and being a headmaster of a school, you have become a devotee of a illiterate Gadai. This is the statement made by a Pandit of Kamarpukur towards Gadadhara. So, though we live in proximity with the ideal or with the Ishta, still we will be unable to comprehend the depth of that personality. That's what I want to just show you. So, even once Akshay Sen, which comes in Gospel of His Study, Akshay Sen once asked Sri Ramakrishna, while Akshay Sen and Thakur is sitting in Panchavati, and then he asks, Thakur, so many people, so many areas from Calcutta, like Keshav and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and so many Narendranath, etc., they are all coming to you so much, they are all literate and wonderful intellect people are coming to you, but still many people in and around Dakshineshwar are not able to understand your importance. So what's the reason behind it? Sri Ramakrishna, instead of answering directly, he just shows a cow which was bound by a tether on the banks of the Ganga. That cow was grazing on the bank, but was not able to drink the water of Ganga because it was bound by a tether. At the same time, few stray cows enter the garden. They just entered the river, satisfied themselves drinking the water of the river, just departed from the place. He says, because they are all bound like this cow, those who are free are able to drink the Ganges. Sri Ramakrishna, which is perennial source, flowing as a Ganga, can be drunk by those who are not bound by using the word of Sri Ramakrishna, lust and gold. This is what Sri Ramakrishna means. That's why the only option for us to understand or approach Sri Ramakrishna is through the prayer, "O Thakur, please reveal yourself." That is the only solution. Even if you see the photograph that is installed in our shrine and many places, that photograph today we got through Bhavanath. You might be knowing Sri Ramakrishna used to praise Bhavanath so much, especially if you are able to read the Bengali Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. In the later part, second part, in the last pages, they have given a short description or biography of all the people who are associated with Sri Ramakrishna. That is not there either in English or in Kannada, but there it is there in Bengali. Bhavanath is much praised by Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna says he is a Prakriti and Narendranath as Purusha. And Narendra was also very much fond of this Bhavanath, and even if you study the letters of Swami Vivekananda from West to the other brother disciples, many times he mentions, how is Bhavanath? How is Bhavanath? Unfortunately, or you may call it in another way, Narendra makes this statement. Unfortunately, he got married. He was supposed to become a monastic member, but he got married anyhow. But he makes this statement in his letters, so much fond of Narendranath and Bhavanath by Sri Ramakrishna. Through him, we got this photograph of Sri Ramakrishna. One day, he entered the room in Dakshineshwar and asked the permission of Thakur. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, "Today it is not possible, better you come tomorrow." Next day, Bhavanath came with a photographer to take the photo of Sri Ramakrishna. In the afternoon, maybe around 12 o'clock. But even during that time, Sri Ramakrishna was not willing to take a photograph. Then what he did, at the same time, fortunately, Narendranath entered the room, and Narendra says, he understands the matter and says, "Bhavanath, don't worry, I'll make arrangement. You be prepared with the photography." Then he takes Sri Ramakrishna. Actually, Sri Ramakrishna himself leaves the room and just goes and sits near Radhakanta temple. While sitting there, Narendra goes and sits with Sri Ramakrishna and starts speaking about spiritual life. The moment Narendranath begins the conversation on this topic, Sri Ramakrishna goes into Samadhi. Immediately he calls Bhavanath to take the photo. Then Bhavanath, that photographer, while taking, he saw that the chin of Thakur and his face was bent little. Then to adjust, he just put his hand on Thakur and whole body came up just like that of a paper. Then Narendra cautious, never to touch the body of Sri Ramakrishna, just do the thing of photography as soon as possible. Then he takes the photograph, and through Bhavanath, we are having this photograph everywhere. Seeing this photo, why I am telling all these things, has got so many reasons behind. I am just showing the tip of an iceberg. Seeing this photo, one of the devotee approached Vignanji Maharaj and said, "Swamiji, if we see the photo of Thakur, we don't feel anything. But if we see the photos of Swamiji, we see the personality manifested. But that's not the case with Sri Ramakrishna. What to do?" Then Vignanji Maharaj makes a wonderful statement. All these statements, why I just read from the original, because all these things helps us in doing meditation and japa. Vignanji Maharaj says that is not true. The master was an extraordinary person and a wonderful person. His picture shows a person who has passed through all 6 centers of the Kundalini. Seeing his God intoxicated form, we feel that he is absorbed in the ocean of bliss, having transcended all centers. I see many divine forms in that picture of the Master. What great power he had! He would travel in the realms of the sun, moon, stars, and Brahma just as he wished. Once, Master showed me his picture and said, "Look, I dwell in this picture. Meditate on me." One can find everything in the Master's picture. I know I am speaking to the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. That's why I just stress on those words, dwell, meditate on me, etc., etc. Even though we try to meditate, there is one thing which we have to hold on, which is called by Sri Ramakrishna as faith. With what faith should we meditate? I just use the words of Sri Ramakrishna himself. If a man has firm faith that he is the Son of God, then he makes rapid strides in spiritual life. I repeat, if a man has firm faith that he is the Son of God, then he makes rapid strides in spiritual life. That's why you see in so many places in Kathamrita, Sri Ramakrishna mentions the faith of Krishna Kishore. He makes so many statements regarding Krishna Kishore's faith in the Nama. Once he says, actually Haldari makes a comment that Ajamila in his last day uttered the name of Narayana only once and got mukti. Haladari comments that is impossible to say so because earlier he had performed so much austerities and hence attained mukti not by just uttering the name of Narayana. So Haladari was so much dissatisfied hearing this. Later on, he even stopped seeing Haladari and coming to the place where Haladari was sitting because he limited the power of Nama, of God. So many instances Thakur makes there regarding the faith of Krishna Kishore. So coming with this faith, I am just flowing through to comprehend Sri Ramakrishna. Then, if we just see the life of Rasik. Rasik played a very short role in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Actually, this Rasik was just a sweeper in the garden of Dakshineshwar. At the same time, he used to clean the privy, so he was called the scavenger. Swamiji uses the word paraya in the lecture My Master. And if you remember, this is the house where Sri Ramakrishna entered in the dead of night to clean the privy of this Rasik, to crush the ego of Brahminhood of Sri Ramakrishna. So this Rasik was so wonderful man that he knew that Sri Ramakrishna was a greatest wonderful spiritual personality. Because he was a paraya, he was not allowed into the Garbha Mandira of Kali temple and not even to the room of Sri Ramakrishna. He used to clean the place. At the same time, he used to watch Sri Ramakrishna from a distance and used to feel dissatisfied that he was not able to serve Sri Ramakrishna or go to Sri Ramakrishna, get some instructions and be blessed by his grace. He waited in this condition for so many years. One day, he thought, today, let us end the issue once for all. He saw Sri Ramakrishna going to Pine Grove and Ramlal Dada standing near the Panchavati, waiting for Sri Ramakrishna with the water. Then Rasik stood behind a tree. The moment Sri Ramakrishna came from the pine grove and started walking towards the Nahabat, immediately he fell at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna and washed the feet of Sri Ramakrishna with his tears and then prayed, Father, what will be my condition? He prayed, Father, what will be my condition? Sri Ramakrishna was startled seeing Rasik at his feet. Immediately he went into Samadhi. Then, after regaining his outer consciousness, he touched the head of Rasik and told, don't worry, there is nothing more to be attained, you have attained everything. There is nothing to be attained, you have attained everything. By washing the feet of Sri Ramakrishna with the tears, saying the word Father, Bap. Here, the wonderful thing is that how come a Paraya had the feeling that Sri Ramakrishna was everything? When he considered and waited for a chance for some years, Sri Ramakrishna gave a chance to bow and then bestowed his grace, saying, you have nothing to be attained, you have attained everything. Then, in the later days, he got bedridden. On the last day of his death, actually in his courtyard of the house of Rasik, he had a small Tulsi grove where he used to meditate and do japa. Then he says to his wife and children, please take me to the Tulsi grove in the afternoon. Then they all bring him near the Tulsi grove. He just sat and taking the name of Sri Ramakrishna with full consciousness, he left the body with the vision of Master. A sweeper, so-called Paraya, a scavenger, could attain to that with the pure love, saying, Father. With the relation, that's why Thakur says, if a man has a firm faith that he is the son of God, then he makes rapid strides in spiritual life. Even if we come to the incident on the January 1st, 1886, where Sri Ramakrishna was like a Kalpataru, when it was in the afternoon between 3 and 3:30, when he bestowed grace to all the devotees, Navagopal Ghosh was not in that team on that particular day. He came in the evening. Then Ramchandra Datta told him, see Navagopal, today Sri Ramakrishna has become Kalpataru. He has bestowed his grace on all of us. Why don't you go immediately and ask his grace? This Navagopal Ghosh suddenly rushed to the room of Sri Ramakrishna, falling at his feet and asked, Thakur, please bless me. Then Sri Ramakrishna asked, are you able or will you be able to perform japa and austerities regularly? Navagopal says, no, I cannot perform any austerities or japa and such things anymore. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, at least you remember God either in the morning, both in the morning and evening, at least once in the morning and evening. Then Navagopal Ghosh says, that is also not possible for me, Father, because I have so many children and so many family responsibilities to take care of, and I cannot assure you that I will be able to perform or to remember God both in morning and evening. Then Sri Ramakrishna, in a divine mood, says to Navagopal Ghosh, then you do one thing. Pointing to himself, he says, remember this. Just he says this word, remember this. And leaves the matter and says, nothing more to be done by you further. Nothing more to be done by you further. Remember this. That is the solution given by Sri Ramakrishna. These are all just hints in different places I am just giving you. So, Thakur, in many places, even if you just read the Gospel, he once in front of Master Mahashaya prays to Mother Kali, "O Mother, may those sincere seekers who come here," referring to himself, "obtain perfection. O Mother, may those sincere seekers who come here," referring to himself, "obtain perfection." This is the statement made by Thakur, or he is praying to Holy Mother. In another instance, Sri Ramakrishna says, "One who is leaving his last birth, one who is leaving his last birth will come here. A person who has sincerely called on God even once, a person who has called on God sincerely even once will definitely come here." Then one day, in another instance, Nag Mahashaya asks for sannyasa to Thakur. He says, "Thakur, I want to take sannyasa." Then Sri Ramakrishna instructs him, "You be a householder, live in your house as a householder, and perform the duties of a householder. Don't take sannyasa." Then he says, But I am very much interested in meeting with all holy men and holy people. How can I stay in a village and at the same time not able to meet the holy men if I don't go out?" Then Sri Ramakrishna says, "Stay in your place, holy men will come to seek you, you be in place, they will come to you." And then he ends the instruction with the word, "If you love this, everything will be all right." He says, if you love this, everything will be all right. These are all the statements or the facts. As we see in the lives of Sri Ramakrishna, so many places, so many things are there. If you want to proceed, we have to take these as the instructions given by Thakur. As I was just mentioning yesterday, every word of Sri Ramakrishna is a mantra. That's why we have to just take whatever idea or whatever statement which strikes us the most as the mantra apart from the Ishta mantra and join with the faith to the mantra and then proceed. Then definitely there is wonderful light that is going to be realized. Before that, one is surely able to enjoy at least a part of bliss. But we should be able to do that adhyayana and nididhyasana along with the japa and meditation. And this wonderful thing with Thakur, I just gave simply few facts and put it in a frame so that you should be able to see the infinite through this frame. That's what my intention. There is such a wonderful literature with respect to Thakur Mas Swamiji, such a wonderful literature in this present age for this word. Only thing we have to just read. Begin with reading. That is most important and more than enough for anything else. This is my personal suggestion. With this, I conclude today. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.